I want to thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Outside the Shop with me, your host, Daryl D. Lane, where I get to talk about everything that I normally don't get to talk about on my regular sports podcast, Barbershop Sports Talk, which you can all find on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasting apps from. Did a podcast last night with Kenny Sims, scouting expert for 247 Sports, and we recapped everything that went on during the Super Wild Card weekend. So definitely, if you're a fan of the NFL, check that out. We have a lot of great content. Also, I think I'm going to have Kenny on again for the next podcast on Wednesday, and we're going to delve into all these GM, coaches, OCDC coordinating hires around the NFL. So we're going to do that. And I think also about an hour or so we might do a little college football preview, or I think it might be a recap. I'm not sure about that. But after this, I'm going to confirm with Kenny about that. So a lot of football that we got going on and covering right here. But first, here's where I want to start. How about them Bills? 27-24 win against the Indianapolis Colts on Saturday, 1 o'clock, first game. Big win for the Bills. I will say this. I thought we were going to blow out Indianapolis. I was not necessarily pleased with how the game went. I would compare it to, it's like you get into the car with somebody who's drunk. They drive you home, and you're like, oh my God, this is not good, we could die. Your heart's pumping, you feel like you're going to have a heart attack, an anxiety attack, and then the person who's drunk actually ends up getting you home, and you're like, okay, let's not do that again. Josh Allen, first half, second quarter, 2 picks. One was an offsides and one was called back, so they did not count. I was not happy with that. Also, there was the fumble at the end where the tackle, Darrell, he dove on the ball and recovered it, which could have been a disaster if Indianapolis recovered it, because they would have covered on their side of the field, on Buffalo's side of the field, which would not have been good. Also, our run defense is awful. Buffalo's run defense is awful, which is going to be a concern because we're playing the Baltimore Ravens, who have one of the most unique rushing attacks in the NFL with Lamar Jackson in this triple option, read option kind of mesmerizing QB running game that they have going on in Baltimore. So there were some things that I did not like. I will say this: if we play like this against Kansas City, we will not win. But here's the great thing. It's really good to criticize the team when they advance, when they go on to the next round. So that's what I'm most pleased with. Find a way to win when you're not necessarily playing your best, because they put 56 on the Dolphins. I don't expect them to put 56 up and dominate all these good teams. That's not how it's supposed to be. But definitely want to see a more complete game against the Baltimore Ravens next week. And speaking of the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson got his first playoff win against the Tennessee Titans. Big for Lamar. 100 yards rushing, at 179 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Lamar is maybe one of only quarterbacks ever in NFL history who can impact the game with having a subpar passing game. And I will say this. The concerning thing about this, and I know people might say Lamar got his monkey off his back, his first ever playoff win. He didn't play well throwing the ball. He did not play well throwing the ball. And Tennessee has one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. So you would think for this Baltimore Ravens pass offense to get on track, it would be against the Tennessee Titans. They did it running the ball, which is good, right? Use what got you there. But here's the thing. Eventually, there will be a team that will be able to stop. The Baltimore Ravens rushing attack. And when that happens, Lamar is going to have to stand in the pocket and deliver down the field. So I wonder how that's going to play as the postseason continues. And mainly, they're probably going to be able to run on the Bills. I think they're going to be able to run on the Bills. But if they beat the Bills, right, they advance. Can they do it against Kansas City? Can they do it whoever comes out of the NFC side of that matchup in the Super Bowl if they are lucky enough to make it that far? So that's what I would be looking at. Now, next up, the Cleveland Browns. 28-0 first quarter against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talk about one of the most surprising things that happened on Wild Card Weekend. 28-0. That's insane in the membrane. When I think about that, I'm like, holy crap, how the hell could that happen? Lots of picks by Ben Roethlisberger. He threw 4 interceptions. He threw about 10 almost. Like, what the F are you doing, my guy, picks? Not a good showing for the Steelers. Juju talked a lot of smack. He said, these are the same old Browns. And Juju, I have news for you, bruh. You're not the same old Steelers. That's the issue. You're not the same old Steelers. Watching this game was like watching a team die on national TV. And I compare it to this, right? Because when the Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers played about 10, 12 weeks ago, their first regular season meeting, the Pittsburgh Steelers blew them out, dominated them. We go to the last week of the NFL season when they play. Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't play a Ben Roethlisberger. They don't play a TJ Watt. Cleveland wins barely. Then we go to the playoffs, and they dominate them. Just the trifecta of how much better Cleveland got. This is like the older brother who always beats the crap out of the little brother. Then the little brother gets big. And then when the little brother gets big, then it's like the big brother can't really dominate him anymore. And I think that's kind of what I would compare it to and what I saw. Now, what all three these teams have in common that I've talked about, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, all young quarterbacks in the QB class of 2018. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Baker Mayfield. There have been reports already that the Bills are looking at extending Josh Allen and giving him a huge contract. I do want to know what everybody thinks, and you can put this in the comments. Of all these three young quarterbacks, who do you think is the best, right? Josh Allen had the best year this year, MVP caliber year. The second year last year, Lamar, MVP of the league. Baker Mayfield, he broke the rookie record for touchdown passes by Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's rookie record for touchdown passes. Justin Herbert ended up breaking that this year. Which quarterback do you think is the best, and which quarterback would you want for the future? I think that's interesting. I want to hear what people have to say on that. Bears Saints, the Nickelodeon broadcast. I loved it. I thought it was cool. I watched it for about 15 to 20 minutes. If you have kids, I think and you want them to get them into football, want to get them into sports, I think it's a really cool way to do it. They were doing a lot of funny, cool stuff during the broadcast, talking about their favorite ice cream, cartoon characters. They compared Alvin Kamara to Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks, which I thought was kind of funny, quirky, unique. I wish they would have had this when I was young, when I was like 8, 9 years old. That would have been kind of cool. Also, I think it's really interesting to look at this in terms of them doing this again. There's 4 quarters in the NFL season that make up the 16-game regular season, right? You have 4 games, then 8 games for the second quarter, 12, then 16. What I was thinking is, right, Nickelodeon is a CBS affiliate, has a TV contract with the NFL. If you look at Disney, another kids network, they're ESPN affiliate. Why not have 2 out of your 4 quarters, pick 2 games, two out of the regular season, and broadcast them on Nickelodeon and Disney and make it fun for the kids. I would also pick Cartoon Network in there, but I was looking this up. Cartoon Network's from Turner. So the NBA, you're going to have to get on that, guys. I believe the MLB is affiliated with Turner too, so I do think that would be harder for the NFL to get done with Cartoon Network. But for Disney and for Nickelodeon, I think that would be interesting. Next up, we have the Rams versus the Seahawks. Terrible. What an egg laid by the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson, 40% completion percentage, 174 passing yards, 5 sacks. The Seattle offensive play calling is uninspired. It's not very good. The running game, passing game schematics, it's not great. They don't do really creative stuff to get guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett the ball. When do you ever see Seattle throw screens? When do you ever see them use tempo like a lot? When do you ever see them put DK Metcalf in the backfield, do all these funny creative things, all these cool creative things? You see Antonio Brown, reverses, right? That's how Tampa's using them. You see Tyreek Hill, a weapon in the backfield, they'll use him. That's how Kansas City uses him. Like, be creative. Get your playmakers the ball. Even when you see with the Baltimore Ravens how they use Lamar Jackson in the run game, why not use Russell Wilson like that? Like, just lackluster play calling, and I was really disappointed to see that from Seattle, and you can see the difference between Seattle's offensive coordinator and the Rams' defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, who is going to probably be a head coach in this league relatively soon. So, QBs I trust the most right now going to the divisional round. Patrick Mahomes, 1. 2 is Aaron Rodgers. 3 is Tom Brady. 4 is Josh Allen. 5 is Lamar Jackson. 5 is Baker Mayfield. 6 is Drew Brees. And 7 is Goff. Out of all the quarterbacks I trust heading into the divisional round. Jared Goff is last. I didn't think Jared Goff looked particularly well against the Seattle Seahawks. I thought the Rams won in spite of him. Drew Brees did not impress me. He's second to last. Baker's starting to impress me. Baker's looking really good. Then you have Lamar, Josh. But number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. But those are my quarterbacks in order. Again, Patrick Mahomes, 1, Aaron Rodgers, 2, Tom Brady, 3, Josh Allen, 4, Lamar Jackson, 5, Baker Mayfield, 6, Drew Brees, 7, Jared Goff, 8. Though in order of quarterbacks I trust most to least heading into the divisional round of the playoffs. Now, reportedly, Deshaun Watson could potentially be seeking a trade out of Houston. He could be going to the Miami Dolphins. Listen, you do not trade a star quarterback in this league. Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, is the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. It goes Mahomes, it goes Rodgers 2, 3 Russell Wilson, 4 Deshaun, and then 5 my guy Josh Allen. If you have a guy that's top 5 quarterback in the NFL, you don't trade him. You don't trade him. I don't care. Tell Deshaun to get over it. He just signed a long-term deal. Tell him to get over it and he'll figure out a way. It's like when your kid tells you, hey, I'm moving out the house when they're 10 years old. They're like, okay, you'll get over it. Like, that's what you tell Deshaun. Get over it. He's too talented. He's too good. You won't get equal compensation. I know Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be good. Justin Fields is supposed to be good. There is no data that will show they will ever be better than what Deshaun Watson is right now. I think we need to realize how rare it is to find a bona fide top 5 quarterback in this league. Do not get rid of Deshaun Watson. Figure out a way to make it work. Doug Pederson fired from Philadelphia. My God, I think it's really interesting when you look at this. Doug Pederson could potentially be going to Miami, AFC East rival of the Buffalo Bills. I was just looking at a Schefter report that the Dolphins potentially like him. I think that'd be interesting to see what he can do with the program. Also, looks like the Eagles are going to be looking and heavily coveting Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I think that would be an interesting hire. I think it'll also be interesting to see what Eric Bieniemy does, because there are reports right now that Carson Wentz is going to stay, because Carson Wentz and Doug Pederson had issues. So now that it looks like Carson Wentz is going to stay, if Bieniemy is hired, if the new coach is hired, are they going to stay with the Jalen Hurts, the young athletic guy? Are they going to stay with Carson Wentz, who we saw his potential a couple years ago when he was top 5 in the MVP voting? Now, college football. Big game today. Ohio State versus Alabama for all the marbles. I'm going to go with Ohio State. 44, Alabama 41. I think Justin Fields is going to pull it out. I just have a feeling this Ohio State team is special. They are spectacular. Their offensive line is dominant. Justin Fields is a great quarterback. I think he's going to do really special things on the NFL level. So I'm going to go with Ohio State. But I do want to say this. Some prospects to watch. Trey Sermon of the Ohio State running back. I think he could potentially be an 1,000-yard rusher next year in the NFL. He runs super freaking hard. Also, Justin Fields, in terms of him potentially, some people might say he's better than Trevor Lawrence, but him solidifying himself as QB2 in this upcoming draft class, people have talked about a Zach Wilson, a Kyle Trask, other QBs, Mac Jones, solidifying himself as QB2 and kind of seeing, he might not be Trevor Lawrence, but he's pretty damn good himself. Devontae Smith. Wide receiver, Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama. I think he's somebody that you should watch. Spectacular, amazing display of athleticism, quickness, can play in the slot, can play on the outside. You can do a lot of different things with Devontae Smith, so I think it's going to be great to see him in action. Also, Patrick Surtain, who right now is, I believe, the number 1 projected corner coming out in this draft. Just want to see how he holds up against the Ohio State corners. They'll throw it deep down the field. Let's see how he holds up against these guys. I think that's going to be really cool and interesting to watch. Also, Mac Jones as well. If he has a great game, maybe he potentially decides to forego his last year of college football eligibility and goes to the NFL, if he's going to be a first rounder. So I think that's going to be interesting to look too. So 5th I have is Mac Jones to look out for. A lot of stake. A lot is at stake for the coaches. Ryan Day, Nick Saban. I believe Nick Saban, if he wins this, will have his 7th ring. If he does that, this is approaching John Wooden territory. This is approaching a Pat Summitt territory. This is approaching a Red Auerbach territory. This isn't natural, right? You're not supposed to win this much in college sports and in professional sports, particularly when there's so much parity. You're not supposed to do that. You are not. So if Nick Saban does this, I think we might have to start considering him the greatest coach of all time. Also, Ryan Day. Urban Meyer only won 1 national championship at Ohio State. I believe that was 2015, the first year, the inaugural year of the college football playoffs. If Ryan Day wins, he's already tied Urban. He was walking in Urban's shadow. He was Urban's offensive coordinator, and he could already, in just his 2nd year as head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, get as many rings for that school as Urban Meyer did, which puts Ryan Day on a great pace to do some special things in this sport. And that's all we have for this edition of Outside the Shop. Like I said, check out the podcast that I put out today with Kenny Sim. We dived into everything wild card. The next podcast that I'm going to do with Kenny, probably going to be tomorrow, and then release that on Wednesday. And it's going to be what's going on with the GM coaching hires in the NFL. Also, probably going to do a little NBA roundup in there as well, because I haven't gotten to that in a little bit on the podcast as well. Also, if you want to check out a little clip that I posted earlier today, it was on the Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns thrashing of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Check out the link below. Me and Kenny discuss that. It's about 8 minutes long. I hope everybody has a great day. God bless. And remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm putting this on YouTube right after I'm done with this. Have a great day and God bless.